and welcome to another episode of Woodward's Watercolours. Well, today what I'm going to be doing is using my Watercolour Derwent Inktense pencils, my bespoke set, and I'm going to draw a scene from the beautiful Slemish, well, it's a large hill. It's where St. Patrick spent 6 years of his life. It's a place of Christian retreat, and I had the privilege of being there last Saturday, and it's just so wild. And when I went, it was so rainy and misty, and it was just a really great experience. So I want to explore some of those scenes. So what we're looking at is a scene as you're going up, about to climb up the mountain, and the tree and the steps that are in front of you. So come with me, and we're going to have a play about with that with these watercolor Derwent Inktense pencils. Okay, so let the games begin. So this is my little bespoke pack of the Inktense colours. So I have Sicilian Yellow, Sea Breeze, I'm going to have to turn them, Olivine, Payees Grey, nearly knew that one before, Tan, Dark Cerulean, Green Aquamarine, Beech Green, Amber, Light Olive, no, I'll not need this one, Stana Gold, although we might, you never know. And then finally, oak. Okay, so what we're going to do initially then is I think we're going to use the Payees Grey. Now, hopefully, well, what I am going to have the picture in this section. Now, this is the brush that we're going to use later on, and it's all rubbed off. It's from Sostrene Green. It has this lovely, I love how ornate that kind of binding is at the top there, and it's just really lovely to use. It's like a smaller pointed wash, so we'll just lay that off to the side, but that's what we're going to use whenever it comes to bringing about the whole process of adding the water, which is just so explosive with these Inktense. So we're going to start with the Payees Grey. So let's start by bringing down a little bit of structure here and keep this moving. So the thing about the Inktense there is that they tend to break whenever you're applying different bits of pressure. So I'm just really wanting to find the shapes, moving around, dancing quite lightly with this tree here. So these parts of the tree trunk, and the trees up this little mountain stand almost kind of sentinel as you're about to go up, and then there's obviously, it gets past the tree line, which is again really interesting. And if you notice, this little thing that I'm drawing here is a little stone that just pretty much is right there under the tree. Now, it might be quite deliberately there or not, I'm not sure, but it's just such an interesting place. Now, we're going to take this actually up a little bit higher here, because the trees are kind of we're just finding the bearings here of the different parts of the mountain here. Holding it back so it keeps it nice and fluid, and just continually turning this pen to, or not the pen, sorry, the pencil to find the sort of sharper points, and then this lovely path that is sunken down into the ground because it's been there for so long. And then you start to, as it gets closer to you, you start to see the shapes of the path as it's in front of you. It's actually really steep. My legs were so sore. It shows you maybe I should be doing much more exercise. But it was a really quite a steep path up, and I slipped at one point, but I'm all right. Lived to tell the tale. And then this much bigger path that's seemingly in front here. Okay, so let me see, so there's the basic structure, and then I've got these kind of bits of bushwork here. So okay, so we've got the basic structure here. All right, so once we've got that, then I'm going to use loads. So I'm going to select out the Olivine green, the light olive, some of the beech green, and I was going to lift some of the oak there, but I'll not need that, so let's go for the olivine. Okay, so we're just going to keep, I think I love about using these pencils is you just got to keep them moving. And then actually there's loads of, you know, the green really picks up on parts of these steps as well. Just noticing that it's raining outside. It's lovely and fresh. And into it's really quite warm, and well, warm for Northern Ireland, which is about 20 degrees, which we're just not really that used to be honest. And actually I'm just thinking here as I go around to give you some of the different thought processes that I'm having, is that the steps I'm going to use, I'll actually introduce a flat edge brush for it, because, and then this lovely big stretches of green coming across here. So that'll be really interesting actually when we get to the point of adding the water, as to how we tackle and we keep some of the distinction between the path. And now that's actually blunted quite a lot on me because I'm using it so much, just using the trusty Faber-Castell sharpener, which is just another important bit of kit for me. Now this is where you can kind of, I'm glad that I drew in the initial structure as well, because it would be really easy to lose that, you know. Okay, let's switch to the light olive. Now actually, something that we could start to introduce that around the tree. So the olivine obviously is brighter. This rich olive color reminds me, it really is the light olive. You know, it's like those olives that you would get in the supermarket, or if you live in some beautiful country, then you're probably sick of seeing them, because like in Cyprus, they were just grown everywhere. For them, it's exciting. For us, it's not so much. Right, let's keep this moving for this tree here, because this tree has like little bunches. It's a hawthorn tree, and interestingly it looked like there wasn't very many thorns on it, which I thought was pretty quirky, because normally a hawthorn tree is absolutely, completely and utterly littered. So I'm using this sort of technique of doing these different kind of scribbles to, we'll interchange with tan or amber. I think maybe under is tan better. Let's just do a little test on the tan. Tan's very rich. Amber might be truer to the tone that we're looking for. Well, they both are. We'll go with the, what do I want? I think we'll go with the tan. So we're just gonna use it quite sparingly, and the idea behind this is to let this mix in just certain areas. And there's also some little areas here on the sides of these steps where we want this to mix as well, particularly over in this area here. And there'll be some of the little areas around where the steps are. Need to go back to the olivine for here. Just working it around there too. As we're getting closer then, just adding, I was going to say brush strokes, but little pencil marks that are more akin to grass, you know. Didn't really notice there how important it is, just really picking up on that now to be able to provide the structure of the pathway here, so that we're going to be able to pick up on that later, you know, as this grassy area here, as this continues on up beside. It's gonna now add that in just a little bit there. Okay, and then we've got probably some of the light oak is going to be helpful there. I wonder, actually, the Sicilian yellow is probably too bright, but we'll just let it play about a little bit up here. These are very, very, you can see now why I would want this, these colours in my arsenal, really, for doing scenes like this, because Northern Ireland, the tonal range in Northern Ireland really is this. This is what it is. It's just these continual tones, you know, of the earthy greens and all these fairly muted tones, to be honest. And there's areas where it's so much darker, and I want to really lean in there where those bits are darker. And then also coming out to this area here. We're going to use Payees Grey more so in the background in a wee second to really enrich that. I'm also very conscious whenever I'm doing videos, you know, I don't know what the average watch time is, but I don't know whether it gets boring after a while just watching somebody work away, and do feel free to comment on that, because I find that really interesting as to what's interesting to watch, and I think as well also it shows you how long people watch for. And sometimes for me, whenever I'm watching process videos, I'm not really that interested in what's being said. I'm more interested in the actual outcome at the end, and all is absolutely justifiable, isn't it? There's a little bit of the oak is broken there. Just getting that tree trunk in there. And then the little places we see just a glimmer of that tree trunk again a little bit later on. So also in part down in this area here of this step, and a couple of other areas in the step that need to be acknowledged and picked up on. Just those little parts here. I want to bring that olivine just slightly into this area here and across in this bit here. And then we've got these rich, let me see, did we use the beech green? The beech green probably a little bit wild and crazy compared to some of the other areas. Now it might explode in a completely different way, and we may regret it at some point. Let's get back to this Payees Grey here, which is going to feature on these bits of the rock here, and also in these steps as they go up. Now, the wonderful thing about these pencils is that as you're just laying down some of this, the Inktense onto the paper, then the good thing about it is that the pigment is so strong that you can actually lift it and carry it across, and you'll see that in a wee second, hopefully just as I begin to just add in some of that. And when I start to begin to add the water, just want to just try and get that sense of there being that part of the mountain peering out across here. What I also want to do, which I don't always do in these videos, is show adding in the stampers, because it's such a cool part of the process for me. it's just full of heather as you go up into this. If you can see here, as you go up into the top, hopefully I'm pointing at it, the top where the more rugged parts of the mountain are, and it's just, I climbed up it, and I mean, there's just places where there is no path. It's just, well, no, that's not true. The path is present. You just can't see it until you finish the one part of the path. And I thought that was such a good parable. You know, you have to do the path that's in front of you. Then once you finish that path, then it becomes more clear as to where the next actual part of the path is. But until you finish the first bit, you don't know where the second bit is, and the next bit, and the next bit. So if you're someone who wants to know where everything goes, then that program doesn't exactly always play all the time, sure doesn't. I'm going to use that Beech Green again up in this section here where it's, the tones are very, very different up here. It's amazing how many different shades of green there are, and shades of brown. I always find that fascinating about our little country. Different shades everywhere. Right, and then what have we got? I've got another rock there. Yes, I wanted to capture that little bit of rock. So we've got this one here. Just some slightly darker areas, and then this little bit of rock here. That's not the exact shape by any stretch, but we're not looking for exact. We're looking for representation of. Okay, right. Now, pencil work done, methinks, me hopes. And okay, we're just going to call it Slemish, so you can bear with me while I do this little bit, which is such an important part of the process for me. It'd be interesting for me to know what important parts of the process you have. I know that, you know, taping it down is important. And, you know, even for the setup for videos like this becomes an important part of the process to help you get into the mindset of what you're actually doing. You know, leaving out all of the stuff as part of the process. Sending the picture across by airdrop to the laptop or to the iPad that's in front of me when I'm drawing it is an important part of the process. So many bits, so many things. You know, in the morning whenever I get up and make my coffee and then have my porridge is such a part of a process that just helps me get into the day. Right, here we go. Now, we're going to use brush wise. I'm actually going to use a flat edge brush. This is a Seawhite of Brighton flat edge brush, and it's a size 18. So why I'm using a flat edge brush and why I amended my decision initially was because I realized that I need to be able to still see that there's a path here. And I'm not going to be able to do that if I do not use a flat edge brush to be able to facilitate that. Now note the way that I am moving the brush around. Just kind of dancing it around, really. And the thing I really like about this, I think it's the light olivine, is that it just has this quite muddy, almost sort of a gouache feel to it, which I never thought I would say, but I really, really like. I'm letting it mix a little bit with this. I'm not rinsing the brush. I want to keep all of the colour and tone on the brush. But this is where the magic happens, I find. Now we're wanting these to mix a little, bringing in that, I think it was the tan that we went for. And selecting that and moving the colours around. I want to give it a wee rinse off because I want to get the, it's much more kind of that electric kind of a tone along there. I'm not wanting it all to touch. I do want some of it to mix, but I don't want all of it to mix. So what I can do is lift up a little bit of this tone here, bring it across, just to acknowledge where those steps are going up a little bit higher, using the corner of the flat edge brush for that. And one of the things I absolutely love is with this style of using the watercolor pencil, you're left with the pencil marks, and I really like that. And also you can splat away because it's just so full of pigment. Now, releasing some of that, the lighter, I think it was light olive, that one. Some of those darker areas of pigment there. Okay. These are the steps. And the steps were wet that day because it was raining so much. So just going to keep lifting a little bit of that. See that? Just lifting it. Just on where it's present there. Just letting it mix ever so slightly. Now let's look at this tree. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a different brush for the tree. I'm going to use the brush that I showed you initially. And as it goes quiet, to focus on try and capturing this, because I think this tree could be really quite lovely. Now the other thing I want to do is get that sense of that block, which is also beside, so it's actually, well, it should be really a bit more shadowed there, but let's begin to move this around here. It's so wonderful how these work. And I know there's been lots said about the video that I did. It seemed to get a lot of attention about these. Lots said about how, you know, these don't work like your average watercolor pencils, and they don't. But the more that you get to work with them, the more you, well, for me anyway, I think we all find our own things, don't we? We find the things that we really, really love to use. Look at that. Look at the amount of pigment that is actually present on the brush from just dancing around the what's been laid down with the pencils. Okay. Now what I want to do, so it's really quite broken up here, so I'm going to try and capture that is by breaking it up with my brush strokes. I don't want it all to bleed together into a muddy mess, so I'm leaving all of these white gaps. Just agitating where it needs to be. Now, is there anywhere else where I need to maybe just those little bits there? Now what I can do is, there's that light olive, and while it's still a little bit wet, now the other thing I could do, what one's that? This is the oak, so the oak is going to work quite effectively just to capture in some of those little areas that need to be that a little bit more dark. In fact, I would do much better with the Payees Grey. It's going to serve that purpose. Sorry if I just bumped the tripod there. Because it's that little bit wet, I don't often show going back into it with the pencil, so it's quite interesting to do that, just to show creating that little bit of depth with that. And also I can just go out over some of those areas where I want to keep that brush stroke amidst the where it has been effectively mixed and used. Okay, I'm really quite pleased with that. I'm going to leave that there for now. Well, not even for now. The only other thing I need to do is to sign it. That would be a good idea. Put the signature in somewhere, and probably the best way to do that is to select, I'll go for the 0.1, and we're going to hide it in here. I'll just leave that there. The sweet joy of working with the bespoke pack of Derwent Inktense watercolour pencils. Well now, wasn't that interesting? Just to see how when you're using those quite muted tones, the tones that are so much my home, the colours that I see all the time, and particularly in that scene, the several different shades of green, the browns to the light ochres, to using the Payees Grey, which I was really pleased at, to capture that idea of this sort of rock side, you know, the rock coming out that you're actually climbing up to, and also indicating that stone path. And also another bit that was interesting to me was whenever the step actually in front of me on that day was really wet because it was raining so much. I just find that for a scene like that, whenever I first see it, I had really enjoyed it. Whenever I'm painting a scene like that, I find that I develop a connection to it and an affection for it. So I'm really interested to hear what you think of this painting or illustration or watercolor pencil paint, or however you want to describe it. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found benefit in that. It was really interesting in the episodic little series that I did, hearing your comments as to what you've gleaned from that process. So please do let me know how you're finding these videos and what you think of them. Do share them. Do tell your friends about them. Do like, and please do subscribe. I really appreciate all the subscribers that have joined, and to those of you who are new, thank you for joining. And that's it for today, and I will see you sometime soon. Bye for now.